Hello, thank you for stopping by. My name is Becky and this is BecxReadz, and today I'm here to share with you my weekly reads update. These are the 3 books that I finished reading February. I didn't look at the calendar before I started filming. February, I want to say 18th through the 24th. So the first one I finished reading was The Lighthouse Witches by CJ Cook. I did listen to this. I actually started a Libro FM account just so I could have an alternative to Audible. And this was one of the audiobooks that I found on Libro FM. We follow this young mother named Liv who packs up her 3 young daughters. They move to this remote Scottish island where she is commissioned to paint a mural inside this lighthouse that has a very mysterious and dark past. They start to learn about the women who were accused of witchcraft on this island and who were hanged and put into a prison at the bottom of this lighthouse. They also start learning about these children that show up on the island that the locals called wildlings, which are essentially like changelings. Throughout history, these children would appear on the island and they would seem like children that were already living there, but they would always have this mark on them with a number. And so they believed that they were fae who were taking the place of their children. So they would pretty much burn them and sacrifice them in order to not have any sinister stuff happen to their island. So as they're living on this island, a couple of Liv's daughters end up with this mark and they end up disappearing. So we're following these 2 different timelines of Liv and her children living on this island, I think in like 1998, 1995, 1990s, let's say 1990s. And then we also jump forward 20 years and we're following one of her children, Luna, who just got word that one of her sisters who disappeared was found. So she goes to pick up this sister who she's expecting to be an adult at this point from the hospital, but when she gets there, she's confronted with this little girl who is 7 years old, the same age that her sister was when she went missing. And she looks exactly like her sister. She has the memories of her sister, but she's questioning if this really is her sister. And so it leads her and her little sister on this journey back to this island where they fled to try and figure out if it is in fact her sister. And along the way, they're discovering some secrets and more mysteries about this island. Lay the fuck down. Lay down. I liked this one. I really liked the family dynamics, the sibling dynamics. I loved the Scotland setting. I loved the mystery of witches and wildlings. I liked the surprise twist that this took. I wasn't expecting it to have that trope in it or that plot line in it. It did take me quite a while to connect the timelines with the characters that were speaking because I was listening to the audiobook. I didn't feel the strongest connection toward any of these characters, but I liked them well enough and I liked their story. So Kristen, if you're watching this, no fears, I ended up enjoying this and I can definitely see why you liked it. So it would be one that I would recommend people checking out, especially if you're like into historical mysteries with a little witchy fae mystery involved. The next book I finished reading, I'm not going to go too in depth with, and that is Eva Evergreen's Semi-Magical Witch by Julie Abe. This is the Black Hat Book Coven's book pick for this month. We will actually be having a live show later tonight on Laura's channel to discuss this, so I won't share all of my thoughts about it. But in this, we're following a young witch named Eva. She has to go on this thing called a novice quest, and she has to get the endorsement of this town in order to progress in her witchy studies. And if she can't, then Jackson. And if she can't, then she's going to have her magic sucked out of her. She has barely any magic at all, and the magic she has does malfunction at times. So she is reluctantly given this task. She's sent to this town, and when she gets there, she's trying her best to help people, but things just keep going awry. I liked this. I liked the latter half of it much more than the beginning. It was better than I thought it was going to be, but I'm not going to share all of my thoughts on it. Tune into that live show tonight and hear mine as well as other people's thoughts as well. I will also link it in the description once it is over, so if you're watching this video later in the week, you can hear those thoughts. The last book that I finished reading this week was Bride of the Sea by Emma Hamm. This is the last book that I had to read in her Otherworld series. I don't know if she plans to continue writing in this series or not, but this is the final book that I had to read in order to get caught up on it. So this is a Little Mermaid retelling, and it is about Saoirse, who is a marrow. She is very curious about the world above her, about humans, and then one day when there is a shipwreck, she ends up saving this human whose name, Manus, which is kind of like a manta ray. Huh, that's interesting. Anyway, I just thought of that. But she ends up saving him and taking him to this deserted island where she like nurses him back to health, does bring him food and water and things like that, and she'll keep an eye on him from afar, but they do communicate with one another seldomly. They get to know each other somewhat, and she shows him like a shipwreck at the bottom of the ocean, and he ends up being attacked by the Marrow Men. And luckily enough, a ship comes by that saves him and takes him back to his home port, seaport thing. But Saoirse is heartbroken because in getting to know him, they bonded somehow. And so she is connected to him. She is drawn to him. So she ends up getting the help from her mother to escape her family because her father is very like, you're gonna marry a Marrow Man, you're gonna do what I say. And so her mother helps her escape. She ends up swimming to the port town where Manus is living. She finds him, they get married, they start a relationship and all of that. So I did not like this story. I didn't feel any chemistry at all between Saoirse and Manus. I didn't understand why she was so obsessed with this guy. She barely knew him. They get married, and she is brand new to land living, so everything is just wonderful. However, Manus is a poor as dirt guy. He pretty much lives in a shack. The door doesn't lock or anything. He just has to prop it up and whatnot. He doesn't have any food for her. He doesn't have a job at this point. He has no skills. So somehow he convinces her, because she's so naive, I guess, and she thinks love is all you need in life. Somehow this man convinces her to marry him. And he's just like, I'll take care of you. And I'm just thinking, how the fuck are you going to take care of her? You can barely take care of yourself, dude. Meanwhile, he's constantly thinking how wonderful it would be to see her grow pregnant. And I'm just like, really, dude? You can't even take care of her, but yet you want to bring it. Oh my god, I can't deal with poor stupid characters. I just can't. But because he is poor, he needs money, right? And so he sends her back to the ocean to go and gather gold from another shipwreck. And he knows this is dangerous for her because if she goes back into the ocean, there's a chance that her family will find out where she is and come after her. He sends her there to do it anyway. And she agrees because she just loves this man. So she brings all this money back, and they eventually put it in a bank. He buys this huge ass mansion for her. He hires staff to help her out. Meanwhile, she doesn't want any of this. She just wants to live in their rundown little shack where, you know, it was at least warm and cozy. Here it's very sterile. People are looking at her. She doesn't really understand all their ways and whatnot, so she doesn't want this. So already you can tell at the beginning of their relationship that what he's giving her, she doesn't want. And he doesn't take time to consider what she wants. He's just like, oh, I'm gonna make you feel like a princess. I'm gonna buy all this shit. Dude has no sense of financial responsibility at all. He's just pissing money away left and right. Because they really don't communicate with one another or talk to one another at all about what they're feeling. And then this dumbass just sails away. And he goes on this 6-month to a year-long journey. She has no idea how long he's going to be gone. And she doesn't even know that he's leaving. He just leaves in the middle of the night. He doesn't talk to her about it or anything. And in doing this, the longer he is away from her, she slowly starts to die because they are connected. How? Don't fucking ask me. She doesn't tell him this. He doesn't know. They don't communicate at all. While she is slowly dying, she actually gets like this fairy godmother type situation where this leprechaun ends up like watching over her and taking care of her, and they have this really nice friendship. She should have ended up with the leprechaun, quite honestly, because he was a much better character in my eyes than this dumbass, broke, financially stupid human. And this leprechaun convinces her to go back into the water because she has a much better chance of surviving for longer, in the hopes that her dumbass husband will actually make it home to her before she dies. And I didn't like anything about this. The way that he talked to her just wasn't romantic. It almost felt like a possession to him. And I'm somebody who loves the whole "you're mine," right? I love that when characters say that to one another in stories. But in this, it just didn't feel like possessive romantic. It just felt possessive. He referred to her at one time as this pretty little piece who worshipped the ground he walked on. I wanted him to die. I wanted something to happen with Saoirse where she realized that she didn't want this man, that she had other options and she could find love somewhere else, and she just never fucking did. She just goes with the first freaking human to catch her eye, and that's it. She could have ended up with the leprechaun. There was also a glass blower who had some like fey connections, who was so sweet to her. He like took the time to like teach her how he did his glass blowing art and things like that. He talked to her really sweetly. She could have ended up with him, but no, she stayed with her deadbeat dumbass husband. I just hated it so much. And then this book, of course, ends with a baby to just tie this nice little dumbass family up in a bow. I want to say maybe their child is featured in another one of Emma Hamm's books. Her name sounds familiar. I'm not sure though yet. But I severely did not like this book at all, which really annoys me because this cover is very beautiful. I actually pre-ordered a hard copy edition of this book for a Polycon because I was reading the series. I was on like book 5. I was loving them. I was like, yes, I might as well get. So there's like $25 down the drain for me right there. I'm so disappointed. It didn't do what all of the other books in the series did for me. So yeah, anyway. That's the conclusion to this weekly reads. Those are the 3 books I read. Let me know down in the comments if you've read any of these books, what your thoughts are. But if you don't want to comment that, but would like to let me know that you made it to the end of this video, could you leave me a... Is there a lighthouse emoji? If there is, leave me that. If not, just leave me the wave emoji, like the sea wave emoji. And with that, thank you so much for watching, and until my next video, let's finish out February strong with some good reads. Bye.